The red keep swallowed them with red stone and damp air, and the sound of the city faded behind the gates like a door being shut on a different life. Inside the castle walls, the drizzle turned the yard to slick mud, and every footfall felt too loud. Men watched from balconies and archways, courtiers in fine cloth, servants with lowered eyes, guards with hands hovering near pommels. King Robert Baratheon dismounted with the impatience of a man returning to his own house only to find it filled with strangers. His boots hit the stone hard. He did not look up at the towers he owned. He looked only at the covered wagons rolling in behind him, and at the white cloaks that rode so close they might have been stitched to the canvas. Renly Baratheon stepped forward with his practiced brightness, but the brightness did not reach the tightness around his eyes. "Brother," he said and bowed, "the city has been quiet," Robert growled, and it was not a shout, but it carried. Renly's smile froze. "No speeches, no welcomes, no songs. I want my counsel, and I want it now." Eddard Stark dismounted beside him. The air here tasted of salt and smoke and rot under perfume. He felt the city pressing in from beyond the walls like a tide that wanted inside. He saw the city watchmen lining the yard's edges, their spears upright, their faces blank. Yet blankness in King's Landing was never empty. Blankness was a mask. Barristan Selmy raised a hand, and the Kingsguard moved with the precision of trained blades. White cloaks formed a barrier around the wagons. Northern men took positions without being asked, spears angled outward. The yard began to feel like a battlefield that had not yet admitted it was won. A door opened above them. A pale figure in silk leaned on a balcony rail as if watching a parade. Varys's smile was soft and pleasant. His eyes were not. His eyes were measuring. Near the steps, Petyr Baelish appeared with no more ceremony than a cat slipping into a warm room. He wore rich cloth and a grin that suggested he enjoyed discomfort in others the way some men enjoyed wine. His gaze flicked to Eddard Stark and lingered just long enough to make Ned feel the old sour memory of mistrust. Robert saw Littlefinger and looked away as if refusing to acknowledge an irritant. He jerked his head toward a side entrance. "Maegor's Holdfast," he said to Barristan. "Put her there. Put the children somewhere warm and watched. Separate the Kingslayer from them. I want him where he cannot whisper." Barristan Selmy inclined his head. "As you command, your grace." Cersei Lannister did not appear as the wagons moved. Only the faint clink of chain came through canvas, and for some reason that small sound tightened Ned's throat more than any scream would have. He glanced toward his own family arriving behind the vanguard. Catelyn's hood drawn low, Bran tucked close, Sansa pale as milk, Arya sharp-eyed and bristling at the sheer number of men who seemed eager to watch her breathe. This was the heart of the realm, felt diseased. Robert started up the steps without waiting to see if anyone followed. Renly fell into step at once, and Ned followed too, because that was the role Robert had dragged him here to play. Friend, hand, anchor. Behind them, the wagons rolled deeper into the Red Keep, and the gates shut with a slow, final groan that sounded too much like a tomb being sealed. The small council chamber smelled of wax and old stone and stale power. Candles burned in iron sconces, their flames steady despite the damp air, as if the castle itself refused to let light tremble. Robert did not sit. He paced behind the table like a caged bull, then stopped and slammed his fist down hard enough to rattle goblets. The sound snapped every gaze to him. "You will listen," Robert said, voice low and thick, "and you will keep your tongues behind your teeth unless I ask for them." Grand Maester Pycelle blinked rapidly, fingers clutching at his chain as if the links might protect him. Varys's hands were folded, his expression attentive, almost kindly. Petyr Baelish lounged as if this were a mummer's show and he had paid for a good seat. Renly sat too straight, the smile on his lips like a painted thing. Eddard Stark stood at Robert's right, silent, because silence was safer than words in a room full of knives. "I have returned," Robert continued, "with prisoners." Pycelle's mouth opened. No sound came out at first, only a wet breath. "Your Grace." "My wife," Robert said. and the word turned into a growl. "Is under arrest." A stillness fell, sharp and immediate. Renly's eyes widened, then narrowed. Petyr Baelish's smile deepened by a hair, as if delighted. Varys's expression remained smooth, but his eyes glittered. Pycelle looked as though he might fall over. "Under arrest," Pycelle repeated weakly. For what charge, your grace?" Robert's gaze burned across the table. "Treason," he said, "and crimes that make the gods avert their faces." Varys's voice was soft. "The realm will want clarity," he murmured. "The realm is very fond of stories." Robert leaned forward, hands braced on the table. "Then we will give them one," he said. "A true one." Ned Stark's son saw Queen Cersei Lannister in Winterfell with Ser Jaime Lannister in a way no sister should be with her brother. Jaime is in chains as well. Pycelle made a small sound like a dying bird. Renly's face went pale. "Robert," he said quietly, and in that quiet was warning. "If this becomes public without preparation, it will become public when I decide." Robert snapped. "Not before." Petyr Baelish's tone was mild. "The City Watch," he said, tapping a finger on the table, "will require very careful handling." Eddard Stark felt his jaw tighten. "We already bled for careful handling," Ned said. "Lannister riders attacked us on the road." That cut through even Petyr's amusement. Renly's lips tightened. Varys's eyes widened with something like sympathy that felt false the moment it appeared. Robert's expression turned feral. "Tywin has moved," he growled. "He will keep moving until someone breaks him." Pycelle's voice trembled. "Your Grace, Lord Tywin Lannister will not take this. Let him choke on it," Robert said. Varys inclined his head slightly. "There is the matter of proof," he said softly. "A child's eyes." "A child's eyes saw what my own eyes refused to," Robert snarled. "That is proof enough for me." Eddard Stark spoke before Robert's temper could become a torch. "It is proof enough to act," he said. "Not proof enough to bind the realm to you without fracture. We must do this lawfully." Robert's gaze snapped to him. "Lawfully?" Robert repeated, bitter. "You and your lawful." Ned held his gaze. "Without law," Ned said, "you become what she needs you to be." Robert's nostrils flared. He looked away, jaw working. The silence that followed was heavy with all the things Robert wanted to do and could not. Renly swallowed. "What do you intend?" he asked. Robert's voice was rough. "We secure the keep," he said. "We secure the watch. We secure the city's gates. No Lannister man leaves. No Lannister gold moves without my knowledge." Littlefinger's smile returned, smooth as oil. "A difficult thing," he murmured. "Gold is like water, your grace. It finds cracks." Robert's eyes narrowed. "Then we seal the cracks," he said. "Ned, you will write Stannis again. Tell him to come with whatever proof he has. I want my brother here, in this room, looking me in the eye." Varys's voice was gentle. "And the Queen?" he asked. Robert's answer was cold. "She stays caged," he said, "until I decide whether she lives." Pycelle trembled visibly. Renly stared at Robert as if seeing him for the first time in years. Littlefinger's eyes shone with delighted danger. Varys smiled softly, like a man watching a spiderweb tremble. Barristan Selmy stood at the door, silent, and Ned saw the old knight's knuckles tighten around his sword hilt. The keep was secured, Robert had said. Ned wondered if anything in King's Landing had ever truly been secured in all its history. Maegor's Holdfast did not feel like a home even for kings. It felt like a place built for fear to live comfortably. Cersei Lannister sat with chains at her wrists and still managed to look like she wore jewelry. The room was red stone and torchlight, iron bars at the windows, thick doors, the air slightly warmer than outside but no less cold in spirit. She watched the torch flames as if studying how fire behaved when it was trapped. Joffrey sat opposite her, rigid. His hands were clenched, his eyes bright with a hatred that had nowhere to go. He looked at the chains as if they were an insult written in metal. Myrcella kept Tommen in her lap, rocking him the way a girl rocked a doll. Tommen's sobs came and went, small and exhausted. Septa Mordain hovered near the wall, prayer beads sliding through her fingers, lips moving as if her words might create a door where none existed. Sandor Clegane stood by the door. He did not lean. He did not relax. He was a shadow with a sword. "They will kill us," Tommen whimpered, voice thick. "No," Cersei said, and her tone was so sure it made Tommen blink. She reached, chains clinking softly, and brushed a finger along her son's cheek. "They will not." Myrcella's eyes were wet. "Mother," she whispered, "is father angry?" Cersei's smile was faint. "Robert Baratheon is always angry," she said. "Sometimes he knows why." Joffrey's voice cracked like a whip. "When I am king," he spat, "I will have them flayed. I will." Cersei's gaze snapped to him. "You will do nothing," she said quietly. Joffrey stared as if stunned. "Mother, you will listen," Cersei murmured, and the softness of her voice made it worse. "This is not a boy's tantrum you can punish with threats. This is a net. You are caught. You do not thrash, because thrashing tightens it." Joffrey's breathing quickened. "They can't keep me," he hissed. "They can't keep." "They can," Cersei said, "because Robert Baratheon is still king, and for all his stupidity, he is strong." Her eyes narrowed. "And because Lord Eddard Stark is here, and he will make Robert Baratheon strong in the ways that matter." Septa Mordain's prayer faltered. "Your Grace," she whispered. "Please." Cersei ignored her. Her gaze slid to Sandor. "Tell me," Cersei said, "do you think the men guarding this door are loyal to Robert Baratheon?" Sandor's ruined mouth twisted. "Some," he said. "And the rest?" Cersei asked. Sandor shrugged slightly. "The rest are loyal to whoever keeps them breathing," he said. Cersei's smile sharpened. "Good," she murmured. "Then breathing is what we buy." Joffrey leaned forward. "Send word," he demanded. "Send word to grandfather. He will come." Cersei's eyes gleamed at the word. "Grandfather, Tywin, the lion in the west." "He is already coming," she said, and there was satisfaction in it and pain too. "But he cannot simply arrive and smash gates. The realm will look at him. The realm will decide whether he is saving me or challenging the crown." "Let him challenge," Joffrey snarled. Cersei's gaze became a blade. "You do not understand," she said softly. "If Tywin Lannister challenges the crown openly, the realm fractures, and fractured realms do not keep princes safe." She leaned closer, chains clinking. "If you want to live, you learn what it means to wait." Joffrey's face twisted with fury and fear. He looked suddenly younger, suddenly more like the boy he was. "I hate them," he whispered. "I know," Cersei murmured. "Hold that hate like a coin. Do not spend it on noise." Tommen sniffled. "Where is Uncle Jaime?" he whispered. Cersei's eyes flicked to the torch flames again. "He is where he belongs," she said, and for a heartbeat her voice held something raw that she quickly buried. "And he will do what he must." Sandor Clegane shifted slightly, listening to sounds beyond the door. The muffled footsteps, the clink of armor. He said nothing, but Cersei saw his attention and filed it away. Even cages had weak points. You only had to find the one that a desperate man might pry open. Jaime Lannister's cell was cleaner than most men's rooms. That seemed like an insult. The White Sword Tower held its prisoners with quiet dignity. Stone walls, a narrow window, a simple bench. The iron on Jaime's wrists looked strange against his fine skin, like something meant for another man. He sat with his back straight, his gaze angled toward the door as if he had been waiting for this moment. When the latch scraped and the door opened, he did not rise. He only smiled. Eddard Stark entered with a lantern in hand. The light painted the cell in amber and shadow. Barristan Selmy stood in the doorway like a statue cut from duty, his face hard, his eyes tired. "You came," Jaime said softly. Ned set the lantern down on a small ledge. "I did," he replied. Jaime's gaze flicked to Barristan. "And the old night watches," he murmured. "Afraid I'll sprout wings." Barristan's voice was cold. "Afraid you'll sprout lies," he said. Jaime laughed quietly. "Lies," he repeated, and there was no humor in it. "We are drowning in them, Ser Barristan. Your cloak is soaked through." Ned's gaze stayed on Jaime. "Why did you push him?" Ned asked. Jaime's smile paused. "Who?" he asked, though he knew. "My son," Ned said. The words came out like stones. Jaime's eyes held Ned's without flinching. "I did not push a boy," he said softly. "I saved my family." Ned felt something in him tighten. "By murdering a child," he said. Jaime's jaw flexed. "By preventing the realm from tearing itself apart," Jaime said, and the audacity of it made the lantern's flame seem to flare. "Do you think this?" He lifted his bound hands slightly, iron clinking. "Happens and the realm stays intact? You think Robert Baratheon can keep his anger contained? You think the lion will kneel because you asked nicely?" Barristan's hand tightened on his sword hilt. "Careful," he warned. Jaime's gaze slid to him. "Careful," Jaime echoed. "How many men burned while you were careful, Barristan Selmy?" Barristan's eyes darkened. "Enough," he said. Ned's voice cut through them both, sharp. "Are the children yours?" he asked. Jaime's smile vanished. The silence that followed was thick, deliberate. The iron on Jaime's wrist seemed louder. Finally Jaime said, very softly, "If I answer, Lord Eddard Stark, do you promise me something?" Ned's eyes narrowed. "I promise nothing," he said. Jaime's gaze remained steady. "Then you will get nothing," he replied. Ned leaned forward slightly. "You are in chains," he said. "You do not bargain." Jaime's mouth twisted. "Everyone bargains," he said. "Even wolves. You bargain with honor. It costs you everything, yet you keep paying." He leaned closer, eyes bright. "Robert Baratheon will kill Cersei Lannister if you let him. He will kill my children." Jaime's voice tightened at the word, revealing more than he meant to. "If you let him. And when he does, he becomes the kind of king the realm fears, not follows. Men will rise against him. They will call him mad." Barristan flinched at that word as if struck. Ned's face went colder. "You speak of madness," he said. "You who killed a king." Jaime's gaze sharpened. "Aerys Targaryen would have burned this city," he said quietly. "He would have burned women and children and called it purity." He laughed, harsh. "I killed him and you all spat on me for it. Perhaps you should have thanked me." Barristan's voice was a low growl. "You took a vow, and I kept it," Jaime snapped, sudden fury flashing. "I kept the only vow that mattered, to protect the innocent." His chest heaved once, then he forced the anger down, smoothing it like a cloak. "But you did not come here for my confessions," he said, voice softer. "You came because you're trying to decide whether to be a good man or an effective one." Ned stared at him. Jaime smiled faintly. "Here is your truth," he murmured. "There is no such thing as a good man in King's Landing. Only men who haven't been tested yet." Ned's voice was ice. "My son was tested," he said, "and he lived." Jaime's eyes glittered. "For now," he whispered. Ned turned away before the rage could show on his face. He lifted the lantern. "You will remain here," he said, "and if you attempt escape, you will die." Jaime's smile returned, thin and bright. "Then do not blink," he murmured. Barristan Selmy watched Ned leave, his expression unreadable. The door shut with a soft click that felt far too final for a city built on whispers. Catelyn Stark did not trust the red keep's warmth. It felt borrowed, like a cloak taken from a dead man's shoulders. Their chambers were finer than Winterfell's, tapestries on the walls and a small fire crackling in a hearth. But the air still carried the city's stink through every crack. Catelyn sat beside Bran with a blanket around him and her arm wrapped protectively over his shoulders. Summer lay at Bran's feet, head up, amber eyes watching every movement. Sansa hovered near the window, looking down at the courtyards and towers as if waiting for the castle to become beautiful if she stared hard enough. Her eyes were red. Arya crouched near the door, ear angled toward the hall, listening with the focus of a cat stalking prey. Bran's hands trembled slightly even when he held a cup. He kept seeing the assassin's knife. He kept hearing the wet crack of Robert's fist on the King's Road. His childhood had begun to feel like a story someone else told. A soft knock came. Catelyn's muscles tightened. Arya's eyes narrowed. The door opened without waiting for invitation, and Varys glided in as if welcomed by the room itself. He wore pale silk, his cheeks rosy, his smile gentle enough to be a grandmother's. "My lady," Varys said softly. "My sweet children." Catelyn rose slightly, every instinct screaming. "You should have announced yourself," she said. Varys' smile did not change. "In King's Landing," he murmured. "Announcements are invitations for eavesdroppers." His eyes fell to Bran. "How is our brave young lord?" Bran swallowed. "I'm fine," he whispered, though his voice shook. Varys' gaze softened. "Of course you are," he said. "You are a wolf, and wolves are strong." Arya's voice was sharp. "What do you want?" she demanded. Varys turned his head toward her with mild surprise, as if a kitten had spoken. "Only to be helpful," he said. Catelyn's eyes hardened. "Helpful to whom?" she asked. Varys' hands folded together. "To the realm," he said. "Always to the realm." He stepped closer, stopping just far enough that Summer's growl did not rise. "There are whispers," Varys murmured. "They spread so quickly. Some say the queen has been seized by northern savages. Some say the king has gone mad. Some say Lord Eddard Stark intends to set aside the royal children and crown another." His smile remained soft. "People fear what they do not understand." Catelyn's grip tightened around Bran's shoulders. "And what do you understand?" she asked. Varys' eyes flicked to Bran, then back to Catelyn. "I understand," he said gently, "that your son is in danger." Catelyn's jaw clenched. "We have noticed," she said coldly. Varys sighed, as if pained by the cruelty of the world. "There are men in this city who would pay dearly to make that danger permanent," he said. "Gold is moving. Knives too." Arya shifted closer to Bran without seeming to. Sansa stared at Varys, frightened and uncertain, as if not sure whether this soft man was friend or monster. Catelyn's voice was steady. "If you know who," she said, "name them." Varys' smile became a little sad. "If I named them," he murmured, "they would scuttle into darker holes. Better to watch where the spiders spin." He inclined his head. "I came to offer a simple truth. Do not let your son out of sight. Not for a heartbeat. Not in this castle." Catelyn's gaze narrowed. "Why tell me this?" she asked. Varys' eyes glittered, just briefly, with something like sincerity. "Because children are the realm's future," he said softly. "And because sometimes, my lady, the only way to keep a future alive is to keep a child breathing." Bran stared at him. Did you send the man?" Bran whispered, barely audible. Varys' expression did not change, but his eyes softened even further, which somehow made it worse. "Oh, sweet boy," he murmured. "If I wished you dead, you would never have heard the knife." He bowed slightly. "No, I did not send him." Catelyn felt cold settle in her bones. That was not reassurance. That was a reminder of how easily death could be arranged here. Varys stepped back. "Be careful," he said again, voice like velvet. "And tell Lord Eddard Stark, smiles are more dangerous than swords in this city." He turned and glided out. When the door shut, Arya hissed, "I don't like him." Catelyn stared at the door a long moment. "Neither do I," she whispered, "but I fear him more than the ones who shout." Summer's ears twitched. Bran hugged his blanket tighter. Outside, King's Landing kept breathing, hungry and loud, as if nothing had changed. While inside the Red Keep, every whisper sharpened into a blade. Stannis Baratheon arrived like a judgment you could not outrun. He did not come with music. He did not come smiling. He came in dark cloth, jaw clenched, eyes hard, carrying the sea's salt in his hair and the sense that he had been right and hated being right. Davos Seaworth stood behind him, plain and steady, hands folded as if he were attending a prayer. The man's eyes moved constantly, watching the room in the way a sailor watched weather. Quietly, without panic, because panic did not save ships. Robert stood at the foot of the Iron Throne steps, not seated, as if the throne itself offended him today. His gaze burned on Stannis like fire trying to scorch stone. Renly leaned slightly to one side, his expression a practiced calm that did not hide the tension at his throat. He looked like a man trying to keep a feast table from collapsing while everyone at it reached for knives. Eddard Stark stood between the brothers, feeling like a wall built too thin. "You sent for me," Stannis said, voice flat. He did not bow deeply. He did not flatter. "So speak." Robert's laugh was harsh. "Always so warm," he growled. "Yes, I sent. Because you and Jon Arryn were sniffing around my bed like hounds. And now I know why." Stannis's eyes narrowed. "Then you have seen," he said. "I have heard," Robert corrected, voice tightening. "From a boy." "A boy's eyes are sometimes cleaner than a drunk's," Stannis said, and the words landed like a slap. Robert's fists clenched. For a moment, it looked as if he might swing at Stannis the way he had swung at the lion-helmed rider. But the throne room was full of eyes, and Stannis Baratheon did not flinch. Robert swallowed the blow inside his chest. "Proof," Robert snarled. "You demanded proof. Bring it." Stannis reached into his cloak and pulled out a thick book bound in worn leather, its pages edged with age. He held it as if it were a sword. "The lineages of the great houses," he said. The same book Jon Arryn studied until his eyes bled with it. The name hit Robert like a bruise. His face tightened. Stannis opened the book, flipping with practiced familiarity. "Baratheon's seed is strong," he said, voice cold. "It always has been. Black of hair, blue of eye, broad of build." His gaze lifted to the courtiers lining the sides, daring them to deny it. "Every bastard of yours in this city bears your face more than any child in your bedchamber." A murmur ran along the walls like wind through reeds. Renly shifted, his smile gone now. "Stannis," he murmured, warning. Stannis ignored him. "Jon Arryn and I visited the king's bastards," he continued. "We saw the truth written in flesh. The royal children have golden hair and green eyes. Not one looks like Robert Baratheon." Robert's breathing grew rough. He looked suddenly older, as if the words were stones hanging from his shoulders. Ned watched him, heart heavy. He thought of Bran's trembling. He thought of Catelyn's fear. He thought of a realm balanced on the color of a child's hair. Robert's voice came out raw. "Say it," he demanded, and his eyes were bloodshot. "Say it with your cold mouth." Stannis's gaze held him. "They are not yours," he said. The silence that followed felt like the whole throne room holding its breath. Robert's mouth opened. No sound came. For a heartbeat it looked as if the king might collapse. Then his face twisted into rage so pure it seemed to burn the air. "I will kill her," Robert whispered, and the whisper sounded more dangerous than any roar. "I will." "Law," Stannis said, stepping forward half a pace. "You must do this by law or the realm will fracture. The throne survives only if the realm believes it is just." Renly's voice was tight. "And if the realm believes it is cruel?" he asked. Stannis's gaze flicked to him. "The realm believes what it is shown," he said. Robert's fists trembled. He looked at Ned, eyes wild, searching for something. Permission, perhaps, or restraint. Ned's voice was low. "A lawful judgment," he said. "A public one when the city is ready. We keep the prisoners secure until then." Robert's jaw worked. He stared at the iron throne above them as if it were mocking him. "He knew," Robert said suddenly, voice breaking. "Jon knew, and he died." Stannis's mouth tightened. "Yes," he said. Robert's eyes snapped to him. "Did she kill him?" Robert demanded. Stannis did not answer instantly. That hesitation was its own answer. Davos Seaworth spoke quietly, surprising the room. "We have no proof of that," he said. "Only suspicion." Robert's laugh was broken. "Suspicion," he repeated. "That's all this realm ever runs on." He turned away sharply, as if he could not bear the eyes on him. "Prepare the council," he ordered, voice hoarse. "All of you, we will do this. We will do it in daylight. And if the city tears itself apart, so be it." Stannis's gaze remained steady. Renly's face tightened with worry. Ned felt the room tilt, as if the entire castle had shifted slightly on its foundations. The truth had been spoken in the throne room. Now King's Landing would decide whether truth was worth blood. Petyr Baelish found Ned Stark the way sickness found a wound. Quietly, efficiently, with a smile that pretended to be kindness. They walked together down a corridor where the walls were gilded in places and stained in others, where torchlight made gold look warm and stone look hungry. Two city watchmen lingered at an intersecting hall, pretending not to listen. In King's Landing, pretending was an art. "My lord," Littlefinger said softly, "you look as though you've swallowed a knife." Ned did not slow. "If I had," he said, "I would trust it more than your tongue." Littlefinger's smile widened. "Still charming," he murmured. "I missed the North's hospitality." Ned's gaze stayed forward. "Speak," he said, "and do it quickly." Littlefinger's steps were light. "You are trying to keep King Robert Baratheon from becoming a monster," he said. "Admirable, difficult, nearly impossible." His eyes glinted. "You're also trying to keep the city from tearing itself apart when the truth is announced. That will require the City Watch." Ned's jaw tightened. "The City Watch answers to the king," he said. Littlefinger laughed softly. "In songs," he replied. "In reality, it answers to gold." Ned stopped and turned on him. "What do you want?" he asked. Littlefinger lifted his hands slightly as if offended. "Only to help," he said. "I can buy loyalty. I can point you toward the captains who can be trusted. I can," his smile sharpened, "keep your wolf's throat from being cut in the dark." Ned's eyes narrowed. "At what price?" he asked. Littlefinger's gaze flicked, quick, toward a nearby door, the treasury. "A small price," he murmured. "A promise. When the realm shifts, you remember who helped you stand upright." Ned felt disgust rise in him. "The realm is not a ladder," he said. Littlefinger's smile did not fade. "Everything is a ladder," he murmured, almost tenderly, as if sharing a secret with a child. "Even honor, especially honor. Men climb on it because they know you will not kick them off." Ned's face went cold. "I will not bargain with you," he said. Littlefinger's eyes glittered. "You already are," he replied, "by listening." Ned turned away and resumed walking. "If you truly wish to help," he said, "then do what you should have done years ago and stop feeding the city's rot." Littlefinger's laughter was soft. "But my lord," he murmured, "rot is profitable." Ned's hand tightened on the hilt of his sword, not to draw it, but to remind himself he still had something solid in a city made of smoke. "Be careful," Littlefinger said lightly. "Stannis Baratheon is lawful, yes, but law makes enemies. Renly Baratheon is beloved, but love makes rivals. And King Robert Baratheon," his smile sharpened, "is angry. Anger makes corpses." Ned stopped again, eyes hard. "Are you threatening me?" he asked. Littlefinger's expression turned innocent. "Never," he said. "I am advising you." He leaned closer, voice dropping. "This city will eat you if you try to feed it fairness." Ned stared at him, feeling the old memory of Catelyn and this man. Catelyn's youth, her trust once, long ago. It made Ned's dislike feel even sharper. "Stay away from my family," Ned said quietly. Littlefinger's smile turned almost wistful. "Family," he murmured. "Such a lovely weakness." Ned walked away before he did something stupid. Behind him, Littlefinger's footsteps faded, and Ned could not tell whether the man had turned back or continued following in silence. In King's Landing, even when you walked alone, you were never unwatched. The riot began with bread. A cart overturned near the gatehouse, flour scattering into mud, and hungry men shouted as if the loss were a personal insult. Someone threw a stone, someone else threw another. The city watch surged forward with spears to push the crowd back, but the crowd swelled like a wave and anger moved through it faster than any captain's command. Ned heard the roar long before he saw it. It came through the Red Keep's corridors like distant thunder, growing closer, sharper. A messenger ran, breathless. "My lord," he gasped. "The gate!" Ned was already moving. He reached the gatehouse as torchlight flared against evening wind. The crowd pressed against the iron bars, faces twisted with fear and hunger and excitement. Some screamed the king's name, some screamed the queen's. Most screamed simply because they needed sound. City watchmen shoved with spears hafts trying to hold the line. Their eyes darted constantly, uncertain whether the next blow would come from the crowd or from their own ranks. Then red cloaks appeared within the chaos. Lannister men, slipping through the press like knives through cloth. Ned saw the flash of steel first, a dagger raised toward a watchman's ribs. Then blood spurted. The watchman collapsed, mouth opening silently, and the crowd shrieked as if delighted. "They're inside," someone shouted. Barristan Selmy was there in a heartbeat, white cloak snapping, sword drawn. He moved into the red cloaks like winter itself, blade flashing. A Lannister man lunged. Barristan turned the thrust aside and cut him down cleanly. Another tried to slip past. Barristan's sword point kissed his throat and the man fell gurgling into mud. Renly Baratheon stood on the steps, shouting orders at the watch, trying to make them a wall rather than a mob of men in cloaks. "Hold!" he bellowed. "Hold the line. For the king." Some held, some hesitated. Ned saw it. A captain's eyes flicked to a pouch on his belt, to the glint of gold within, and then away again. Gold had bought him. Gold was buying him still. A red cloak broke through toward the inner gate, dagger aimed for the latch. Ned surged forward and caught the man with the flat of his blade. The Lannister stumbled, snarling, and tried to stab upward. Ned twisted, grabbed the man's wrist, and drove his elbow into the man's face. Teeth cracked. The dagger dropped into mud. "Who sent you?"
Ned demanded, breath harsh.
The man spat blood and laughed. "The lion," he choked. A shout rose behind them, raw, furious, and the crowd parted like water. King Robert Baratheon strode into the gatehouse with a hammer in his hand. Not a ceremonial thing, not a symbol, a weapon fit for a war king. His face was twisted with rage, his eyes bloodshot, his beard damp. He looked at the red cloaks and the crowd and the wavering watch, and something primal flared in him. "Treason!" Robert roared, and the word cracked through the gatehouse like lightning. A Lannister man raised a dagger toward Robert. Robert's hammer swung once. The man's skull burst like a melon dropped on stone. Blood spattered the wall. The crowd screamed, some in horror, some in exhilaration. Robert turned, hammer dripping, and pointed it at the city watch captain whose eyes had been too slow, whose men had been too hesitant. "You," Robert snarled, "you will tell me why my gates are bleeding." The captain stammered. "Your Grace, I—" Robert brought the hammer down onto the stone beside the man's foot, cracking it. "Lies!" he roared. "I smell gold on you." Renly rushed forward, face pale. "Robert," he hissed low. "Not here." "Here," Robert growled back. "Always here. This city breeds rot in daylight and calls it normal." Barristan Selmy stood near, blade red, breathing steady despite the chaos. He looked at Robert with a grim expression that was half pride and half fear. The crowd pushed back as more watchmen arrived, some loyal, some merely frightened. The red cloaks were cut down or dragged away, their daggers taken, their faces revealed to a watching city. Ned felt the last of the riot's heat cool into something worse. Certainty. Tywin Lannister was not waiting for judgment. He was trying to rip it from Robert's hands before it could happen. Robert lifted his hammer toward the Red Keep's inner yard. His voice was a hoarse snarl. "Purge them," he said. "Any watchman who took Lannister gold. Any man who hesitated. Purge them now." Renly's face tightened with dread. "The watch will fracture," he warned. "Let it fracture," Robert spat. "I'll build a new one from men who still know what loyalty means." Ned looked at the bodies in mud and understood. Robert's restraint was cracking. And once a king's restraint cracked, it did not mend neatly. When Robert chose to speak, he chose the throne room. Not because it was wise, but because it was power made visible. Because the realm needed to see him standing tall and furious, not whispering behind doors like a man ashamed of his own crown. Courtiers filled the hall in a restless tide, silks and jewels, nervous smiles, hands folded too tightly. City watchmen lined the sides, spears upright, eyes scanning faces. The air smelled of sweat beneath perfume, of fear dressed up as curiosity. Robert stood before the Iron Throne rather than on it. Stannis Baratheon stood to one side, rigid as a sword. Eddard Stark stood to the other, calm as stone. Renly hovered slightly behind, watching the crowd like a man counting how quickly it might turn. Varys was near the front, hands folded, eyes bright. Petyr Baelish leaned with easy confidence, as if enjoying a song. The great doors opened. Cersei Lannister entered in chains, escorted by white cloaks. She moved as if the iron were lace. Her chin was lifted. Her green eyes swept the hall, catching faces and holding them for a heartbeat, reminding them that she remembered, that she would remember. Joffrey Baratheon followed, restrained, his hatred blazing. Myrcella and Tommen were kept back, shielded from the crowd, but their presence was felt like a tremor. A murmur rippled across the hall. Some gasped, some whispered, some smiled in the sick way people smiled when tragedy belonged to someone else. Robert's voice cut through the noise. "You will be silent," he growled. The hall tightened. The murmurs died. Robert pointed at Cersei as if she were a stain on his life. "This woman," he said, "has betrayed the crown." Cersei's smile was faint. "Accusations are easy," she said softly. "Proof is harder." Stannis's voice was cold. "Proof exists," he said, and held up the old book of lineages. "And witnesses exist." Cersei's gaze flicked to him with contempt. "A book," she murmured. "A bitter brother's words." Robert's jaw clenched. "A child saw you," he snarled, "in Winterfell, with your brother, like..." He spat the words as if they burned. "Like lovers." A collective intake of breath swept the hall. Cersei's eyes did not flinch. "And the king believes the babbling of a boy?" she asked, and the question was meant to poison. Eddard Stark's voice rang out, sharp and controlled. "My son is no liar," he said, "and he will speak before lawful judgment." Cersei's gaze slid to Ned, a snake's calm. "Lawful," she murmured. "How noble." Robert's face contorted. "You will not mock me," he growled. Cersei lifted her bound hands slightly, chains clinking. "I have mocked you for years," she said softly. "You simply did not notice." A hiss ran through the crowd. Renly's face tightened. Varys's eyes glittered. Littlefinger's smile grew. Robert took a step forward, and for a moment it looked as if he might strike her in front of the entire realm. Ned's hand moved subtly, ready to stop him if needed. Stannis's posture stiffened, as if bracing for a king's ruin. Robert's breath came harsh. He forced himself to speak instead. "There will be a trial," he said. "A lawful one. The queen will be held until it is done." Cersei's smile sharpened. "And if I demand trial by combat?" she asked. The hall shivered. Even men who loved violence loved it most when it did not happen in their own home. Robert's eyes burned. "You may demand what you like," he snarled. "You are in chains." Cersei's voice was silk. "Chains do not remove birthright," she said. "Chains do not erase House Lannister." Her eyes flicked to the crowd. "And chains do not keep lions from biting." Stannis's voice was a blade. "The law will keep them," he said. Cersei laughed softly. "The law," she murmured. "And who enforces it? Men with gold in their pockets." Her gaze flicked toward the watch lining the walls. "How comforting." Robert's face darkened. "Enough," he roared. "Remove her." Cersei allowed herself to be turned, her chains dragging slightly, her chin still high. As she passed, her gaze met Joffrey's for a heartbeat, and something passed between them. Rage, promise, a mother's command. Joffrey's eyes burned with hatred as the doors closed. The hall erupted into whispering the moment Cersei left, like a wound opening. Robert stood breathing hard, fists clenched, his face grim with triumph and despair both. Ned looked at the crowd and saw it clearly. The city was not deciding whether Cersei was guilty. The city was deciding who would win. The Raven arrived at night, and the message it carried smelled like smoke even through parchment. Ned read it once, then again, because Howland Reed's warning had become a rhythm in his bones. The words blurred at the edges as if the ink itself did not want to be seen. King Robert Baratheon stood near the table with a cup in hand, swaying slightly. The day's fury had drained him. The night's drink tried to fill him again. His eyes were bloodshot, his jaw clenched as if holding back a scream. Stannis stood rigid, the book of lineages under one arm like a shield. Renly's face was pale, his mouth tight. Barristan Selmy guarded the door, silent, shoulders braced. Outside the window, lightning flashed over the city, turning towers into jagged silhouettes. Ned's voice was quiet when he spoke, because loudness would not make the words less true. "Tywin Lannister has crossed into the Riverlands," he said. "His men have burned villages near the Red Fork. They have taken prisoners. They have hanged men who resisted." Robert's cup trembled in his hand. "He dares," Robert whispered. Renly swallowed. "If the Riverlands burn," he said tightly, "the realm will demand immediate action." Stannis's eyes were cold. "Immediate action is what Tywin wants," he said. "He wants Robert Baratheon to swing like a drunk with a sword, so he can call the crown unjust and rally men to his banner." Robert's face twisted. "He is burning my realm," Robert growled. "He is burning my—" His voice cracked, and he slammed the cup onto the table. Wine slopped. "He is burning me." Ned kept reading. His stomach turned. "There is more," he said. Robert's eyes snapped to him. "Speak." Ned's throat tightened. "There are reports," he said, "that Lord Tywin Lannister has sent word to Casterly Rock to gather the full strength of the West. And—" he hesitated for a heartbeat. "And there are whispers that Queen Cersei Lannister's household in the city has offered gold to certain watch captains for services, yet to be named." Renly's mouth tightened. "The riot," he murmured. "It was only the beginning." Barristan Selmy's voice was low. "There will be more," he said. Robert's hands clenched. He looked at Ned and Stannis, eyes blazing and exhausted. "What do I do?" he demanded, and the demand sounded almost like desperation. Stannis answered first, cold as winter. "You name your heir," he said. "You stand firm. You let the realm see that you are not a man being led by his rage, but a king guided by law." Robert's face contorted. "My heir," he whispered, and the words tasted like bile. His gaze flicked as if he could see Joffrey's face through stone, Cersei's face in a child's shape. "Not him." Renly's voice was softer, but urgent. "If you name Stannis," he said, "you risk losing the love of the realm. Lords will follow strength, yes, but they also follow what they want to believe." Stannis's gaze snapped toward Renly like a blade. "Love is not law," he said. Renly's smile was thin and brittle. "And law does not stop blades in the dark," he replied. Robert's breathing grew rough. He looked from one brother to the other as if caught between two storms. He turned to Ned, eyes raw. "You," he said, "what would you have me do?" Ned's voice was steady, though his heart hammered. "You must act," he said, "but you must not act blindly." Summon the lords loyal to you. Call banners. Send word to Hoster Tully. Secure the Riverlands before Tywin turns them into ash. He held Robert's gaze. And yes, your grace. You must name your heir. Robert's mouth opened. He looked suddenly old. I never wanted this, he whispered. Lightning flashed again. The thunder that followed sounded like distant battle. Stannis' voice was merciless. Want does not matter, he said. Only duty. Robert's face twisted. He slammed his fist into the table. Then duty it is, he snarled. I will break Tywin Lannister. I will. His words cut off as his breathing hitched. For a heartbeat, Ned thought he would roar again. Instead, Robert's hand went to his chest. His face paled. His eyes widened, not with rage, but with something else, shock, perhaps, pain. Renly lurched forward. Robert! Robert staggered. The cup fell, spilling wine across parchment like blood. Barristan Selmy moved at once, catching Robert by the arm. Your Grace, he said, and the first hint of fear touched his voice. Robert's breath came in a harsh rasp. No, he choked. Not. Ned stepped forward, heart hammering. Maester, he shouted toward the door. Stannis' face went stone still. Renly's eyes widened, calculating even in panic. Outside, thunder rolled over King's Landing like the gods laughing at men who thought they controlled anything. And in the small council chamber, with war at the gates and truth in chains, the king of the Seven Kingdoms began to fall, while the realm held its breath, waiting to see who would catch it. The Red Keep had always been a place where men died politely, behind drapes and whispers, so the realm could pretend it was not built on blood. Yet when Robert began to fall, there was nothing polite about it. His breath came in ragged pulls, as if his chest were a bellows clogged with wet ash. Sweat shone on his brow. His hands, those great hands that had smashed a prince on a riverbank and crushed a rider's helm into mud, clawed at the sheets as if to rip the pain out by force. Grand Maester Pycelle fussed like a frightened hen. He brought cloths. He brought herbs. He brought honeyed water and bitter draughts and nonsense words meant to comfort men who feared the edge of death more than the truth that led them there. His chain clinked with every tremble. Your Grace, Pycelle murmured, pressing a damp cloth to Robert's temple as if wiping away sweat could wipe away consequences. Breathe slowly, slowly. Robert's eyes rolled toward him, bloodshot, furious even through pain. Slowly, he rasped, and it sounded like a curse. Eddard Stark stood by the bed with his hands clenched behind his back, because if he let them hang loose they might shake. His mind ran like a blade along a whetstone, searching for what had caused this. Drink, the strain of fury, the years of soft living, the sudden shock of betrayal. Anyone could push a man toward collapse. Anyone could be blamed. In King's Landing, blame was a weapon. Stannis Baratheon watched from the foot of the bed as if Robert's suffering were evidence in a case. His jaw was set hard enough to crack. His eyes did not flinch from the sight of weakness, because Stannis had never had patience for it. Least of all in the man who wore the crown by right of conquest and not of discipline. Renly stood close to the wall, pale beneath his smoothness, fingers gripping the edge of a chair as if holding himself upright by wood and will. He looked younger than he ever allowed himself to look, the easy charm stripped away by the sudden realization that the realm's spine was buckling. Barristan Selmy guarded the door. He had stationed white cloaks beyond it and northern men in the corridor, because he trusted neither the castle's shadows nor the men who walked through them with familiar ease. His hand rested near his sword hilt, not to threaten the maester or the brothers, but because in this castle danger came as softly as a breath. Pycelle leaned close to Robert. A tincture, he whispered. It will ease. Robert's hand shot out, startlingly fast, and seized Pycelle's wrist. Pycelle yelped. Robert dragged him close enough that the old man's beard brushed the bedding. Ease, Robert wheezed. Ease me into a grave, you mean? Pycelle's eyes widened, watery with fear. No, your Grace, no. Get away, Robert rasped, and flung Pycelle's wrist aside. Pycelle stumbled, nearly tripping over his own robes. Renly started forward. "Robert," Stannis' voice cut through, cold. "Do not touch him," he said to Renly, and for a heartbeat it sounded as if he spoke not as a brother but as a man anticipating a corpse and the legal quarrels that followed. Ned stepped closer, keeping his voice low, controlled. "Your Grace," he said, "stay with us." Robert's eyes found him. In them was rage, but also something rawer, fear trying to disguise itself as anger because anger was familiar and fear was not.
Ned, Robert raspet.
"If I," he swallowed, grimacing, "if I die." "You will not," Renly blurted, desperation breaking through his polish. Robert's gaze flicked toward Renly and then away again, as if the sight of that hope offended him. He looked back at Ned. "If I die," he said again, clearer now. "She wins." Stannis' eyes narrowed. "The law will not let her win," he said. Robert made a harsh sound, half laugh, half cough. "The law," he spat. "The law didn't keep my bed clean." Ned felt the weight of the room pressing inward. "Your Grace," he said, "we will hold the keep. We will hold the prisoners. We will not." Robert's hand found Ned's sleeve, gripping hard, strong even in weakness. "Promise me," Robert whispered. "Promise me you won't let them take the throne." Ned held the king's gaze. He thought of Bran's pale face, of Catelyn's arms around him, of the city's whispering hunger. He thought of Tywin's riders in mist. He thought of Cersei's smile in chains. "I promise," Ned said. Robert's grip tightened once, like a seal pressed into wax. Then his face twisted as pain surged again. He gasped, eyes squeezing shut. Pycelle rushed forward with trembling hands. "Your Grace." Barristan's voice was a quiet knife. "If you harm him," he said, not looking at Pycelle but making sure Pycelle heard, "you will not leave this room alive." Pycelle froze, swallowed, and nodded rapidly. I serve," he stammered. Stannis stepped closer, voice low so it would not echo beyond the door. "Ned," he said, "if Robert Baratheon dies, there must be no delay.
No confusión.
No opportunity." Renly's head snapped up. "You speak as if he is already dead," he hissed. Stannis' gaze flicked to him, merciless. "I speak as if the realm cannot afford your feelings," he said. Renly's face tightened, and Ned could see the calculation behind the fear beginning to sharpen again. The brothers were already shifting into position around a bed that had not yet become a bier. Robert's breathing steadied slightly under Pycelle's fussing. The king's eyes opened again, glazed with pain, and fixed on the ceiling as if staring at the gods for an answer. Outside, thunder rolled over King's Landing like distant drums. Inside, the realm began to lean toward a cliff, and every man in the chamber felt the wind at his back. News moved through the Red Keep faster than footsteps. It seeped under doors, curled around corners, rode on servants' tongues and guards' glances. By the time the candles in Maegor's Holdfast guttered low, Cersei Lannister already knew King Robert Baratheon lay sweating and gasping behind heavy curtains. She did not smile. Smiling would have been wasteful. She sat in the dimness with her chains pooled like serpents in her lap, listening to the castle's muffled sounds the way a hunter listened for prey. Joffrey sat nearby, rigid, his eyes too bright. He had not slept. Anger kept him awake the way fear kept other boys awake. "He's dying," Joffrey whispered, and the words trembled with hunger more than grief. Cersei's gaze flicked to him. "We do not say that," she murmured. "Not until the world does." Joffrey's fingers curled. "If he dies." "If he dies," Cersei said, quiet as a blade sliding into a sheath, "then the realm will reach for a crown, and men will pretend it is about law when it is truly about force." Septa Mordain stirred, prayer beads slipping through her fingers. Myrcella held Tommen close, eyes wide, as if hoping her mother's calm could become their shelter. Sandor Clegane stood near the wall like a dark pillar, face half lost in shadow, listening without seeming to. Footsteps approached outside the door. Slow, cautious, the latch shifted, A voice whispered through iron. "Your Grace," the guard murmured. Cersei rose with controlled grace, chains clinking softly. She moved to the door and leaned close to the bars, letting the torchlight outside catch her hair and the sharp angle of her cheek. The man beyond was a gold cloak, but his eyes were not brave. They were hungry. "Speak," Cersei said. The guard swallowed. "They say King Robert Baratheon clutched his chest," he whispered. "They say Grand Maester Pycelle is with him. They say Lord Eddard Stark is at his bedside." "Of course he is," Cersei murmured. The guard licked his lips. "They say Stannis Baratheon is in the castle," he added. "And Renly Baratheon." Cersei's eyes narrowed slightly. "All the wolves and all the stags," she said softly. "Good." Joffrey surged forward. "Let me out," he demanded, voice sharp. "Let me." Cersei's gaze snapped to him, and Joffrey stopped as if struck. She did not raise her voice. She did not need to. Her control was the lash. She turned back to the guard. "You will do something for me," she said, and it was not a request. The guard's breath hitched. "Your Grace." Cersei slipped her hand through the bars as far as the chains allowed, palm up. The guard hesitated, then placed a small scrap of parchment into her hand. It was blank. Cersei's lips curved faintly, not a smile but an acknowledgement of leverage. "You will carry my words," she whispered. "Not to my father. Not yet. Too slow." Her eyes glittered. "You will carry them to Petyr Baelish." The guard's eyes widened. To the Master of Coin?" Cersei's voice softened. "Dangerous." "He likes ladders," she murmured. "Tell him the Queen remembers who helps her climb." The guard swallowed hard. "And what do I?" Cersei's fingers tightened around the blank parchment. "You tell him this," she said. "If Robert Baratheon dies, the first men to move will own the city. If he wants to live through the storm, he must choose the side that wins." She leaned closer to the bars. "And you tell him I am willing to pay." The guard's gaze flicked downward, involuntarily, to the pouch at his belt. Cersei saw it. She reached again, and this time she pushed a gold coin through the bars with her fingertip. It caught the torchlight like a captured sun. "More," she whispered, "if you do it well." The guard's hand closed around the coin quickly, as if afraid someone might see. "Yes, Your Grace," he breathed. Cersei's eyes held his. "One more thing," she said softly. "If anyone asks, you came only to check the lock. You saw nothing. You heard nothing." He nodded rapidly. "Nothing," he whispered. As his footsteps retreated, Cersei turned. Joffrey stared at her, chest heaving with contained fury. "You're bribing them," he said, half accusation, half awe. "I am buying heir," Cersei replied. She looked at Myrcella and Tommen, and for a moment something like tenderness passed over her face before hardening again. "Heir is what keeps children alive." Joffrey's eyes burned. "When he dies, I will be king," he whispered. Cersei's gaze sharpened. "When he dies," she corrected softly, "you will be a piece on a board. If you want a crown, you will learn to be more than noise." Joffrey's lips curled. "I am not." "You are," Cersei said, and the certainty of it made him fall silent. Sandor Clegane's rough voice came from the shadows. "Stags fight stags," he muttered. "Lions get trampled if they don't move fast." Cersei's eyes flicked to him. "Then we move," she murmured. She sat again, chains whispering over stone. In her hand, the blank parchment felt heavier than any sword. Outside, the castle breathed. Somewhere beyond these walls, Robert Baratheon struggled for breath. Cersei closed her eyes, not in prayer, but in calculation, and began to plan how to turn a king's weakness into her escape. Catelyn Stark learned quickly that the Red Keep did not have corridors. It had veins. They pulsed with servants and guards and whispers, and if you stood still too long, something poisonous would brush you. She kept Bran pressed close beneath her cloak as they moved, his small body warm against her side, his breath shallow. Arya went ahead like a little ghost, eyes scanning, feet silent. Sansa followed, trembling, hands clutching her skirt as if holding herself together. They had been told to relocate, quietly without fanfare, to chambers nearer the White Sword Tower, where Barristan Selmy could keep watch. Only for safety, the guard had said, not meeting her eyes. In King's Landing, for safety meant, because someone wants you dead. Summer padded close, shoulders rolling, ears pricked, his growl low and constant like distant thunder. Catelyn's hand never left the dagger at her belt. It felt small and foolish here, but it was something she could touch, something that belonged to her in a castle that belonged to lies. They passed a tapestry showing a dragon being pierced by a spear, thread bright against dim torchlight. Bran's gaze flicked up at it, then away, as if even stitched blood unsettled him now. A servant approached from the far end of the passage, head bowed, carrying a tray with steaming cups. His steps were steady, too steady. His sleeves hung loose. Arya froze. Her head tilted slightly, listening to something Catelyn could not hear. Summer's hackles rose. The servant lifted his head. His eyes were not servant's eyes. They were too flat, too intent. Catelyn's stomach dropped. She tightened her arm around Bran. The servant's hand slid under the tray. Steel flashed. Arya moved first. She darted sideways, snatched a torch from the wall with a quick, fierce motion, and shoved it forward. Flame licked the servant's sleeve. He hissed, recoiling, blade half-raised. Summer lunged. The dire wolf hit the man low, jaws snapping around his forearm. The blade clattered against stone. The servant screamed, high, ragged, and staggered backward, tray crashing, hot liquid splashing across the floor. Catelyn shoved Bran behind her and drew her dagger. Her hands shook, but the point stayed steady. Back! She hissed, voice raw. Sansa made a small, strangled sound and pressed herself against the wall, eyes huge. The servant wrenched his arm, trying to free it from Summer's teeth. He reached with his other hand toward his belt. Another blade, perhaps. Another chance. Then a sword slid into the corridor like an answer to a prayer. Barristan Selmy stepped into torchlight, white cloak trailing, blade drawn. His face was grim. He did not ask questions. He did not hesitate. His sword thrust once, clean and precise, into the servant's chest. The man's eyes widened. His mouth opened as if to speak. Blood bubbled. He sagged, weight collapsing against Summer's grip. Barristan withdrew the blade, and the man fell to the floor with a wet thud. Summer released the forearm and snarled over the body, teeth red. Catelyn stood breathing hard, dagger raised, staring at the corpse. Her legs felt hollow. Barristan Selmy looked at her, then at Bran pressed behind her. "Are you harmed?" he asked, voice low. Catelyn swallowed. "No," she whispered, "but they will keep trying," Barristan said, and there was no comfort in it, only certainty. Arya's eyes burned. "Who was he?" she demanded. Barristan's gaze flicked to the dead man's face. "A man with a knife," he said, "which is all King's Landing ever truly is." Catelyn's voice trembled with fury. "He came for my son," she whispered. Barristan nodded once. "Yes," he said. Sansa's voice was thin. "Why?" she whispered, tears spilling. "Why would?" Catelyn looked at her daughter, and her heart clenched. "Because he saw," she said softly. "Because truth makes men desperate." Barristan wiped his blade on the dead man's cloak, expression hard. "Move," he said. "Now. You do not remain in a corridor after blood is spilled." Catelyn nodded, tightening her hold on Bran. Bran stared at the corpse with wide, haunted eyes. He did not cry. That frightened Catelyn more than tears would have. As they moved away, Arya lingered for a heartbeat, staring back at the body. Her face was set in a way Catelyn did not like. Too calm, too focused. Catelyn pulled her onward. She could not afford any of her children learning the Red Keep's lessons too quickly. Behind them, the torch flames flickered, and somewhere in Maegor's Holdfast, Cersei Lannister counted seconds like coins, knowing that as long as Bran Stark breathed, her cage's bars would remain strong. By morning, the Red Keep felt like a ship in a storm, creaking under strain, everyone arguing over which rope to cut first. The small council chamber held a map of Westeros spread across the table, its edges weighted by daggers. Stannis had placed them himself, the blades marking rivers and roads and likely battlefields. His finger tapped the Riverlands with cold precision. "Tywin Lannister burns here," he said. "If the crown does not answer swiftly, the lords will answer for us." Renly leaned across the table, palms open, voice sharp with urgency. "Swiftly, yes," he said, "but not blindly. If Robert Baratheon is truly ill—" "He is ill," Stannis snapped. "He is weak, and the realm will smell it like blood." Renly's jaw tightened. "Then we must hold the city," he said. "We must hold the watch. We must hold the people. You cannot shout law at a mob and expect it to obey." Stannis's gaze flicked to him like a lash. "You cannot charm a war away," he said. Eddard Stark stood between them, hands clasped behind his back, feeling the room's pressure. "Enough," he said, and his voice carried weight because it had no ornament. "We do both. We secure the city and we answer Tywin." Littlefinger's smile was thin. "With what coin?" he murmured. "Wars are expensive. Riots too." Ned's eyes narrowed. "The crown's treasury is empty because you emptied it," he said bluntly. Littlefinger's eyes glittered with amusement rather than shame. "A misunderstanding," he murmured. "The crown borrowed against future prosperity." Stannis's mouth curled with disgust. "Lies," he said. "It stole against future suffering." Varys's soft voice drifted in like perfume. "Gentlemen," he murmured, "the people do not understand ledgers. They understand hunger. They understand fear. If the king's illness becomes a story in the streets, someone will sell it, and someone else will buy it, and the price will be blood." Renly pointed at the map near King's Landing. "Then we keep the story tight," he said. "We say the king is resting. We say the queen is held only for questioning." Stannis slammed his hand down. "No," he said. "We tell the truth. We declare it. We declare the queen's crimes. We declare the bastardy of the children. And we declare the lawful heir." Renly's eyes flashed. "You mean you," he snapped. Stannis did not blink. "I mean the law," he said, though the words might as well have been the same. Ned felt the air sharpen. He knew this clash would come. It had been waiting in the brothers' bones for years, sleeping beneath old grievances, ready to wake at the scent of weakness. "We cannot declare the children bastard without proof presented," Ned said. "Not in haste. Not while Robert Baratheon still lives." Stannis's gaze burned. "Robert Baratheon may not live through the day," he said. "Do you understand what happens if he dies without naming an heir in ink? Do you understand what Cersei Lannister will do if she slips her cage? She will crown Joffrey. She will buy the watch. She will cut your throat and call it justice." Renly's voice was tight. "And if we declare too soon, we make martyrs of children," he said. "The realm loves a wronged boy. The realm will bleed for a pretty story." Stannis's eyes were cold. "Then we give them an uglier story," he said. "The truth." Littlefinger chuckled softly. "Truth is rarely profitable," he murmured. Ned's gaze snapped to him. "Do you know something?" he demanded. Littlefinger lifted his brows. "Innocent. Only that men are moving," he said lightly. "In the watch. In the streets. In," his smile sharpened, "places where you do not look." Varys's eyes glittered. "And perhaps," he murmured, "in places we cannot stop." Barristan Selmy spoke from near the door, voice low and steady. "The king needs guards he can trust," he said. "Not arguments." Stannis's jaw tightened. "He has them," he said. "He has me." Renly's laugh was bitter. "He has you like a jailer," he snapped. Stannis stepped closer, eyes hard. "Better a jailer than a fool," he said. For a heartbeat, it looked as if Renly might swing. Instead, he forced himself still, breathing sharp. He looked at Ned. If Robert dies, he said, voice lower, this city will not accept Stannis easily. You know that. Ned held his gaze. He did know. Stannis was law without love, and law without love was brittle in a city that lived on stories. Then we make the city accept him, Ned said. Stannis's eyes narrowed slightly, as if surprised. Renly's mouth tightened. Varys smiled softly. Littlefinger's eyes gleamed. Outside, rain streaked the window panes like tears. Inside, the realm's future balanced on whether Robert Baratheon's heart could keep beating long enough for men to choose order over appetite. Night in the White Sword Tower was quieter than any other place in the Red Keep, and that quiet made it dangerous. Jaime Lannister lay on the narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to footsteps beyond stone. He had learned the rhythm of the guards. He had learned the pauses. He had learned which men cleared their throats when nervous, which men jingled keys with pride. Cages were patterns, and patterns could be broken. The latch scraped. A white cloak entered. Jaime did not move at first. He let the man come in, let him close the door, let him step into the lantern's weak circle. The Kingsguard's face was half in shadow. Jaime recognized him anyway. A man with soft eyes and softer loyalties. A man who liked gold. Ser Jaime Lannister, the man whispered. Jaime's smile was faint. You're late, he murmured. The man's hand shook slightly as he held out a key. I was told, he whispered. Gold. Enough to. Jaime's eyes glittered. Enough to betray your vows? He asked softly. The man flinched. Do not. Jaime moved. He sprang from the bed with a speed that made the chains on his wrists clink sharply. He grabbed the man's hand, twisted, and drove him back against the wall. The key fell, clattering on stone. You came to free me, Jaime murmured, breath close, voice almost gentle. Or you came to kill me. Which is it? The man's eyes widened, panicked. Free you, he choked. Your sister. Jaime's eyes glittered at the word. His sister, his children, his family. Then he heard it. Footsteps on the stairs. Measured. Certain. Jaime's eyes flicked toward the door. Barristan Selmy appeared at the top of the stone steps beyond the cell's threshold. White cloak trailing like a ghost, sword drawn. His face was grim and tired and furious all at once. You, Barristan said, and the word was death aimed at the other Kingsguard. The man in Jaime's grip went pale. I. Barristan descended one step. Drop the key, he ordered. Jaime's gaze slid past Barristan, down the stairwell. Shadows moved below, gold cloaks, their torchlight bobbing. Men waiting, men paid. Jaime's mouth twisted. Cersei's buying, he murmured. Barristan's eyes flicked to Jaime's chains, then to the shadows below. So are you, he said coldly. Jaime laughed softly. I didn't need to buy, he said. Men betray themselves for the chance. The other Kingsguard whined. Please. Barristan's sword flashed. He struck the man's sword arm, slicing deep. Blood sprayed across stone. The man screamed and collapsed, clutching the ruined limb. Jaime's grip loosened, not from pity but from calculation. His eyes stayed on Barristan. You're getting slow, Jaime murmured. Barristan's voice was ice. I am getting tired, he said, of men who soil white cloaks. The gold cloaks below surged up the stairs, torches flaring. For the Queen, someone shouted, voice desperate. Barristan's face did not change. He moved down the stairs like a blade cutting through smoke. His sword thrust once, taking a gold cloak in the throat. The man fell gurgling. Another lunged. Barristan parried and cut him across the belly. Blood spilled. Torches wavered. Jaime watched, hands bound, heart pounding with the old thrill of violence. He could smell escape in the chaos. He could smell it like blood. He dropped to one knee, grabbing the fallen key with his chained hands. Fumbling. The iron bit his wrists. He snarled silently, trying to fit the key into the lock. Barristan's gaze snapped toward him mid-fight. Do not, he barked. Jaime's eyes glittered. Or what? He hissed. Barristan cut down another gold cloak and stepped toward Jaime, sword raised. "Or I kill you," he said, and the simplicity of it made the threat real. Jaime froze for a heartbeat. He looked into Barristan's eyes and saw it. Not bluff, not theater. Resolve. Jaime laughed softly and tossed the key away, letting it clatter across the floor like a taunt. "All right," he murmured. "Keep your cage." Barristan's jaw tightened. He kicked the key aside, then turned back to the stairs where the last of the gold cloaks faltered under the sight of blood and white steel. "Run," Barristan snarled, and they did, scrambling back down into darkness, leaving corpses and spilled torch oil behind. When it was over, the tower smelled of iron and smoke. Barristan stood breathing hard, sword dripping, eyes hard on Jaime. Jaime smiled, bright and poisonous. "You think you've won," he murmured. Barristan's voice was low. "I think you've shown your hand," he said. Jaime's eyes flicked toward the door, toward the city beyond stone. "Then you should hurry," he whispered, "because my family will not stop, and neither will I." Barristan's expression did not soften. "Then you will die here," he said. Jaime's smile stayed. "Perhaps," he murmured, "but not quietly." Robert Baratheon woke in pain and stayed awake in anger. When Ned entered the sickroom again, the king's eyes were open, fixed on nothing, as if staring at a memory on the ceiling. Pycelle hovered nearby, muttering about rest and drafts. Stannis stood at the foot of the bed, arms folded, waiting like an executioner waiting for a sentence to be read. Renly lingered closer to the window, jaw clenched, trying to look composed and failing. Barristan Selmy barred the door with his presence, and two northern men stood beyond it, because tonight Ned trusted no man who had grown comfortable in this castle. Ned carried parchment and quill. The weight of them felt obscene, paper meant to decide who lived. Robert's gaze flicked to the parchment. "What is that?" he rasped. "Your words," Ned said quietly. "In ink." Robert coughed, a harsh bark that turned into a wince. "Ink," he muttered. "So it's real." Stannis stepped forward. "Name your heir," he said, voice flat. "Now." Renly's head snapped up. "Do not bully him," he snapped. Stannis's gaze cut to him. "Do not pretend this is not necessary," he said. Robert's lips peeled back. "Stop," he growled, and even weak, the growl carried. Both brothers fell silent. Robert's eyes found Ned's. "Read it," he ordered. Ned unrolled the parchment and read slowly, each word chosen for clarity, each phrase meant to hold back chaos. Protector of the realm. Heir by law. The naming of Stannis Baratheon. The command that the queen remain in custody. The command that the children be held until lawful judgment. The promise of a council convened openly once the city could be controlled. Robert listened, breath ragged. When Ned finished, Robert's eyes were wet, not with tenderness, but with fury and grief tangled tight. "Lyanna," Robert whispered suddenly, and the name fell like a stone into water. Renly's face tightened. Stannis's expression did not change. Robert's gaze stayed on Ned. "If I'd had her," Robert rasped. "None of this." Ned's throat tightened. He did not speak Lyanna's name. He could not. Too many ghosts lived inside it. Robert swallowed hard. "If I die," he said, voice hoarse, "I want her remembered as..." He coughed again, grimacing. "As what I lost, not as what I used to excuse my own cowardice." Ned's hand tightened on the quill. "She will be remembered," he said quietly, "as she was." Robert's eyes closed for a heartbeat, as if bracing. When they opened, they were hard again. "Give it," he growled. Ned dipped the quill and held it out. Robert's hand shook as it reached. The ring with the stag sigil glinted on his finger, heavy and familiar. He took the quill like a weapon and dragged it across the parchment. The signature was rough, uneven, but unmistakable. Robert Baratheon. Ink bled into parchment. The realm shifted. Stannis exhaled, almost imperceptibly, as if releasing a breath he had held for years. Renly's face tightened, and Ned could see him thinking. Not of Robert's pain, but of what the ink meant for the city, for the lords, for himself. Robert let the quill fall. His hand sagged back onto the bedding. His breathing was harsh. "There," he rasped. "Now you can all stop circling like vultures." Stannis's voice was cold but not unkind. "You have done your duty," he said. Robert laughed weakly. "Duty," he muttered. "A pretty word for misery." Renly stepped forward, eyes bright with fear he would never admit. "Robert," he said softly, "you will live." Robert's gaze flicked to him, and for a heartbeat there was something like affection. Then it vanished beneath bitterness. "If I live," Robert rasped, "I will see Tywin Lannister broken." He swallowed. "If I die, do it anyway." Ned rolled the parchment carefully, as if handling a blade. He sealed it with wax and pressed Robert's ring into it, imprinting the stag into softness. Barristan Selmy watched, expression grim. Outside the room, the Red Keep breathed its damp breath and waited. Inside, a king's signature sat cooling on parchment, and every man present understood the same terrible truth. Ink could name an heir, but it could not stop men from drawing steel when they decided they deserved the crown more than law did. The storm broke fully by afternoon, as if the sky had waited for Robert's ink to dry before unleashing itself. Lightning flashed over the city, turning the September of Baelor into a pale tooth for a heartbeat, turning Blackwater Bay into a sheet of hammered silver. The wind carried the smell of rain and smoke and the distant stink of fish. King's Landing looked small from the high walkway, like a nest built too close to a cliff. Stannis Baratheon stood there with Davos Seaworth, their cloaks snapping. Stannis watched ravens being readied at the rookery doors, each bird a black arrow aimed at a lord's conscience. Davos's face was calm, but his eyes were sharp, as if he could see storms beyond the one in the sky. Eddard Stark held the sealed decrees. The wax felt warm from his palm. The seal with the stag felt heavier than it should have. He had carried swords into battle and felt less weight than this. Renly stood nearby, staring down at the city as if trying to read the crowd's mood in the movement of tiny figures. His mouth was tight, his hands flexed and relaxed. "The letters go to the great lords first," Stannis said. "Hoster Tully, Jon Arryn's widow in the Vale, Mace Tyrell, Doran Martell, Balon Greyjoy," his eyes narrowed, "and to Tywin Lannister, so he understands what is coming." Renly's laugh was short, humorless. "So he can burn faster?" he snapped. Stannis's gaze cut to him. "So he knows the crown stands," he said. "So he knows this is not a weak king being bullied by a wife's family. This is the lawful heir being declared." Renly shook his head, frustration breaking through. "Lawful heir," he muttered. "If you keep saying it, perhaps the city will believe it." Stannis's eyes were cold. "The city will believe what it is forced to believe," he said. Ned's voice was low. "Force breeds resistance," he said. Stannis's jaw flexed. "Resistance breeds corpses," he replied. Davos Seaworth cleared his throat, drawing both brothers' attention. "With respect," he said quietly. "The people are hungry. They'll riot for a loaf. They'll riot for a story too. A crowned stag does them no good if they starve under it." Renly looked at Davos with surprise, then grudging acknowledgement. Stannis's expression tightened. "Then we feed them," he said, as if the solution were as simple as ordering it. Littlefinger's voice drifted behind them, smooth as oil. "With what coin?" he murmured, appearing at the rookery door as if summoned by the word. His smile was pleasant. "Bread is expensive when everyone wants it at once." Ned's eyes hardened. "If you have time to smile," he said, "you have time to tell me how much gold you have hidden." Littlefinger's eyes glittered. "My lord," he murmured, "I do not hide gold. I move it." Stannis stepped forward, voice cold. "Then move it into the city's bellies," he said, "or I will move you into a cell." Littlefinger's smile did not fade. "Threats are so blunt," he murmured. "But yes, of course, I will see what can be done." His gaze flicked to the decrees in Ned's hand. "Those letters will make many men choose sides," he said softly. "I do so enjoy watching choices." Ned's grip tightened around the parchment. "Do not watch," he said. "Help." Littlefinger's smile turned almost pitying. "Helping is watching with extra steps," he murmured. The ravens were released one by one. Black wings beat against gray sky. They vanished into rain. Ned watched them go and felt the distance stretch. Each raven a gamble that a lord's pride would yield to law, that a man's greed would bow to duty. Renly's voice was tight. "If Robert dies," he said quietly, "this decree becomes the only thing holding the realm together." His eyes flicked to Stannis. "And you are not the kind of man people cling to willingly." Stannis's gaze remained fixed on the storm. "Then they will cling because they have no choice," he said. Ned looked down at the city again and saw movement near the streets leading to the Red Keep. Crowds gathering, like ants around spilled sugar. Rumors were spreading. Hunger was sharpening. Fear was finding a voice. Behind all of it, far west beyond sight, Tywin Lannister's banners gathered, and villages burned. The storm raged. And Ned Stark understood with a sick certainty that even if Robert survived, the realm had already begun to fracture along lines of belief. Belief in law, belief in love, belief in gold, belief in blood. Ravens could carry orders. They could not carry trust. That evening, Pycelle brought a silver cup. He entered the sick room with the careful steps of a man carrying something precious, his hands steadying the tray as if it held medicine rather than potential death. The cup's surface caught candlelight and threw it back in pale flashes. Steam curled upward, faint and fragrant. Robert lay propped against pillows, skin clammy, eyes half-lidded. Pain had hollowed him. Anger still lived in him, but it flickered now like a torch running low. "A draught, your grace," Pycelle murmured, voice soothing. "To calm the heart, to ease your breathing." Robert's lips moved, a wordless sound. His hand shifted slightly, reaching. Ned's gaze locked on the cup. He did not know why suspicion struck him like a blade's flat, only that in this castle poison was as common as wine, and Pycelle's loyalties had never been clean. Ned remembered the riot. He remembered the Gold Cloaks' hesitation. He remembered Cersei's certainty that men could be bought. He stepped forward. His hand closed around the cup and snatched it off the tray before Robert's fingers could touch it. Pycelle gasped. "My lord!" Stannis' eyes sharpened instantly. Renly's face went pale. "What is in this?"
Ned demanded.
Pycelle's beard trembled. "Medicine," he stammered. "A tincture of..." Ned held the cup up, inhaled. It smelled sweet beneath bitterness. "Familiar." "Too familiar." "Wine," Ned said, and his voice was flat. "Mixed with something." Pycelle's mouth opened and closed. "Your grace needs honesty," Stannis snapped, stepping forward. His gaze was ice on Pycelle's face. "What did you put in it?" Pycelle's hands fluttered uselessly. "Hawthorn," he whimpered. "Honey, a pinch of..." Ned tilted the cup. A single drop fell onto the white linen beside Robert's hand, darkening it. The drop spread slowly like a bruise. Renly recoiled as if the linen itself had screamed. "Gods," he whispered. Robert's eyes opened wider, focusing through pain. He looked at the cup in Ned's hand with sudden clarity. "You," Robert rasped to Pycelle. "You'd." Pycelle fell to his knees, chain clinking. "No, your grace, no," he sobbed. "I would never." Stannis' voice was cold. "Who told you to bring it?" he demanded. Pycelle's eyes darted. "No one," he pleaded. "I only..." Barristan Selmy stepped into the room, drawn by the raised voices, and froze at the sight of Pycelle kneeling and Ned holding the cup like evidence. Ned's voice was hard. "Taste it," he said to Barristan, offering the cup. Barristan did not drink. He dipped a finger, touched it to his tongue, then spat instantly. His face tightened. "It is wrong," he said. "Bitter beneath sweet." Stannis' eyes burned. "Confess," he ordered Pycelle. "Now." Pycelle's sobs grew. "I..." "I serve the realm," he babbled. "I serve." "You served House Lannister," Renly snapped, rage breaking through fear. "You always have." Pycelle shook his head violently. "No, no." Robert tried to sit up, face contorting. "Bring me my hammer," he rasped. Ned stepped closer, voice urgent. "Your Grace, stay still," he said. Robert's eyes burned. "He would poison me," Robert wheezed. "He would." Stannis's voice cut in, merciless. "Whether he would or not is less important than whether he can," he said. "Remove him." Barristan's jaw tightened. He signaled, and guards moved in, seizing Pycelle by the arms. Pycelle shrieked and clung to the floor with surprising strength for an old man until a guard wrenched him up. "I only meant to help," Pycelle sobbed. "I only." "Help yourself to silence," Renly hissed. They dragged Pycelle out, his chain clinking like a dying prayer. Ned held the cup a moment longer, staring into the dark surface. He felt sick, not only because poison might have been inches from Robert's lips, but because now every cup, every cloth, every servant's step became suspect. Robert lay back, breathing hard, eyes half wild. He looked at Ned with raw fury. "Find her," he rasped. "Find who did this." Ned's voice was low. "We will," he said, though he did not know if it was true. Stannis's gaze was hard. "This," he said quietly, "is why we act without delay." Renly stared at Robert's pale face and whispered, "This is why we may not have time." Outside the sick room, the storm rattled the windows. Inside, a single cup had shifted the room's balance from worry to certainty. Someone wanted the king dead fast, and in a castle built on whispers, that meant the killer was never far. They could not keep the story caged. By the next day, the city roared with rumor so loud it rattled the Red Keep's windows. Some said the king was dead already and his corpse was being dressed in velvet to hide decay. Some said the queen had been tortured by northern savages. Some said Stannis Baratheon had come to steal the throne. Some said Renly Baratheon would save them all with a smile and a feast. The people did not want truth. They wanted a story that fed their fear. So Ned Stark and Stannis Baratheon took the story into the open and dared the city to choke on it. They chose the steps of the Sept of Baelor, because the September was holy ground and because even the hungriest mob hesitated before gods, if only for a breath. Gold Cloaks formed a hard line along the steps, spears upright, eyes darting. Some were loyal, some were bought, some were simply frightened enough to obey whichever voice roared loudest. Renly stood off to the side, tense, watching the crowd the way a man watched a horse he feared might bolt. His smile was gone. His charm could not soothe a storm. Davos Seaworth stood at Stannis' shoulder, plain in a city of gaudy cloth, hands folded as if bracing himself. Stannis stepped forward, jaw clenched, eyes cold. He did not try to charm. He did not try to soften. He spoke as if the crowd were a court that must obey. "People of King's Landing," he called, voice carrying across the steps. "You will hear the lawful words of your king." A murmur rose, uneasy. Someone shouted, "Where is Robert?" Someone else shouted, "Where is the queen?" The crowd surged slightly, pushing against Gold Cloaks. Spear points lowered by instinct. Ned lifted the sealed parchment high. The wax seal with the stag-caught gray light. For a heartbeat, the crowd quieted. Not from respect, but from hunger for spectacle. Stannis' voice rang out. "King Robert Baratheon lies grievously ill," he said. "He has signed his will in lawful witness. He has named his lawful heir." A hiss ran through the crowd, like fire finding dry straw. Renly's gaze flicked toward Ned, tight. Ned's hand did not shake as he held the decree. Stannis continued, voice merciless. "The Queen Cersei Lannister is held under arrest for treason against the crown. Her brother, Ser Jaime Lannister, is held for the same. There will be a lawful trial." A roar rose. Some voices screamed curses. Some screamed prayers. Some screamed joy. The city loved blood as much as it loved bread. Someone in the crowd hurled a rotten apple. It splattered near the steps. A stone followed. Gold Cloaks tightened formation, shields up. Spear points bristled. Ned stepped forward and broke the seal. He read Robert's decree aloud, voice steady, each word hammering into the air like nails into wood. "And should I die, the crown shall pass to my brother, Stannis Baratheon, as lawful heir." The words struck the crowd like a slap. Shouts erupted. Stannis? The Grim One? Renly? Joffrey? The Queen? The King? A man near the front lifted a small lion banner and waved it, screaming defiance. Another man lunged and tore it away. The banner fell into a brazier's flame, and the lion cloth curled and blackened, burning fast. The crowd surged. Gold Cloaks shoved back. A scream cut through the noise as someone was trampled. Then another scream. Ned's heart hammered. He scanned faces, searching for knives in the chaos. He saw men watching too closely, hands too near belts. He saw a watch captain with eyes like coins. Stannis' voice roared over the rising riot. "The realm has a lawful heir," he thundered, "and any man who raises steel against the crown raises steel against the gods." The crowd did not care about gods when hungry. Renly moved closer to Ned, voice tight. "This is slipping," he hissed. "This is." A sudden shout rose from the side street. "The Queen!" someone screamed. "Free the Queen!" Red cloaks appeared at the street's edge. Lannister men, again, slipping through the chaos like knives. Gold Cloaks' heads turned. Some tensed to resist. Others hesitated. Hesitation in a riot was death. Ned saw a dagger flash near the front line. He drew his sword, steel catching gray light. Davos's eyes widened. He reached for his own blade too late. Barristan Selmy appeared like a white shadow at the top of the September steps, sword drawn, cloak snapping. His voice was a command that did not need to be loud. "Hold," he barked, and the Gold Cloaks nearest him held, stiffening as if reminded they served a king, not a purse. The crowd surged again. Someone screamed. Someone fell. Blood slicked stone. Ned held the decree high one last time, as if paper could stop a mob. The city answered with noise and fists and knives. And in that roaring chaos, Ned Stark realized a terrible truth. Declaring a lawful heir did not end a succession crisis. It only began the fight over whether law mattered at all. That night, the Red Keep became what it had always been beneath paint and ceremony. A fortress. Torches flared in the inner yard. Firelight danced on wet stone. Men shouted, "Stil ran!" The sound echoed up towers like a bell calling death to supper. Gold Cloaks flooded the yard in uneven waves, some yelling for the king, others yelling for the queen, and most yelling only because yelling made them feel less afraid. Northern spearmen formed a hard knot near a door leading deeper into the keep, their spearheads bristling like a porcupine's back. White cloaks moved among them, trying to make chaos into order. Ned Stark's voice cut through the noise. "Hold the door," he roared. "Hold the line." Catelyn clutched Bran close, dragging him backward toward the secure passage Barristan had insisted on earlier. Bran stumbled, eyes huge, cloak slipping off one shoulder. Summer snarled beside him, teeth bared, fur bristling. "Mother," Bran gasped. "Do not stop," Catelyn hissed, voice raw. "Do not stop." Arya moved like a shadow at their side, needle-thin blade in her hand, eyes fierce. Sansa clung behind, sobbing silently, face pale as linen. A Gold Cloak broke through the press, dagger raised, eyes wild. He lunged toward Bran. Ned surged forward and intercepted him, sword flashing.
Stil met steel.
The dagger skittered away. Ned drove the man back with 2 hard strikes, then cut him across the throat. Blood sprayed into rain. The Gold Cloak fell, gurgling. Catelyn screamed, a short, sharp sound, and yanked Bran behind her harder. Stannis Baratheon advanced into the yard with Davos Seaworth at his shoulder. Both men grim, wet, unflinching. Stannis' sword was drawn, its blade plain and lethal. He did not roar. He did not posture. He simply moved forward like judgment walking. "Clear the yard," Stannis commanded, and the words were iron. A knot of gold cloaks turned toward him. Men with better armor, better weapons, eyes too sure. Bought men, led men. They charged. Stannis met them head-on. His blade thrust once into a man's belly. The man folded. Stannis pulled the sword free and pivoted, parrying a strike that would have taken his shoulder. Davos slammed his shorter blade into another man's thigh, hamstringing him. The man shrieked and fell. Barristan Selmy fought near the yard's center, white cloak now streaked with mud and blood. He dueled a red-cloaked captain whose armor gleamed beneath torchlight. The captain's face was tight with desperation. He fought like a man promised gold if he won and death if he failed. Barristan fought like a man who had already seen death and was not impressed. Their blades rang. Sparks flew. The captain lunged. Barristan turned, let the strike slide past, and drove his sword through the man's throat. The captain's eyes widened. He fell, clutching at air. A roar went up, half triumph, half horror. The gold cloaks wavered. Then another wave surged in, and Ned saw it. A group moving toward the passage that led to Maegor's Holdfast. Toward Cersei. This was not just riot. It was a rescue. Barristan, Ned shouted, pointing with his blade. The Holdfast. Barristan turned, eyes narrowing, reading the movement. He bellowed a command to the nearest white cloaks. They broke away, rushing toward the passage, blades drawn. Renly Baratheon stood at the edge of the yard for a heartbeat, rain streaking his face, eyes wide with calculation and fear. He looked at Stannis advancing, at Ned bleeding, at the gold cloaks wavering, and Ned saw the decision form in him like a shadow. Renly turned and slipped into darkness. Ned's stomach clenched. "Renly!" he shouted, but the name vanished into noise. Catelyn dragged Bran toward the secure door, hands shaking. The door's guards shouted passwords, shoved the heavy bar free. The door creaked open. Ned backed toward them, sword raised, eyes scanning for the next knife. Stannis' voice rang again, hard. "Any man who raises steel for the Queen is a traitor," he roared. "Drop your blades and live." Some did, some didn't. A Lannister man in red broke through near the passage and screamed, "For Casterly Rock!" A spear took him in the chest. He fell, coughing blood. Rain fell harder. Torches sputtered. Firelight flickered on wet stone like dying stars. Ned reached the door just as Catelyn shoved Bran through. Their eyes met for a heartbeat. Catelyn's full of terror and love. Ned's full of duty and rage. He wanted to tell her he was sorry. He wanted to tell Bran he would keep him safe. There was no time for words. Ned stepped through the door last and slammed it shut. The bar dropped into place with a heavy thud that sounded like a verdict. On the other side, the Red Keep yard continued to scream and clash. On this side, in a narrow stone passage, Catelyn held Bran so tight he could barely breathe, and Ned Stark leaned his forehead against the cold wall for a heartbeat, listening to the war erupting in the castle's belly. Stannis Baratheon's law had been declared. Now it had to be enforced with blood. And somewhere in the darkness, Renly Baratheon was already running his own race. Because in King's Landing, when kings weakened, brothers did not merely support the throne. They circled it,